So the new chapter of Boruto just dropped. This chapter was better than the last. The reason? We got massive world building elements. There was no action, but that was okay because the lore dump was plenty enough to keep our interests. As I read this chapter, we were revealed to have learned more about Amado's past, as well as the androids Delta, Eida, and Daemon. But even better, we learned about the Otsutsuki, and what we're told is just, it's everything we've been waiting for. An identity to the Otsutsuki God that's been hinted to and rumored about for so long. I can't wait to dig right into this exciting development, so let's start our next installment of the monthly chapter review for Boruto. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Also, be sure to check in and see if you're still subscribed. YouTube lately has been unsubscribing people for whatever reason, and we just want to make sure that you don't miss out on any more of our videos. The chapter starts with Naruto and Shikamaru interrogating Amado. They begin by going over what they know about Eida. First, they know that she possesses the ability to enchant any person in the world, whether male or female, and it causes them to fall under her spell. They'll do anything for her. The only people not capable of being enchanted by her would be the Otsutsuki and blood relatives, meaning the only people who won't be enchanted are Boruto, Kawaki, and Daemon. Beyond this, she has the Senrigan, which allows her to see all events from past and present so long as they happened after her birth. They then mention Daemon's abilities, which are basically Wobbuffet. Any damage done to him is returned to where it came from or to whoever he's touching. This is where it gets funkier. It even crosses into conceptual stuff, which I'm itching to explain the scaling of, don't mind me, when it's revealed that if you even think about punching Daemon, the damage will be returned to you physically. Daemon dares them to try it out, and so Kawaki does. He imagines beating Daemon right in the face, and suddenly Kawaki is laying over on the couch after getting his clock cleaned by his own imaginary fist. Boruto's confused about his desire to try it, and Daemon is amused with what he determines to be idiocy. Naruto, listening to the conversation, declares that it's a lot of confusing abilities that make his head hurt to think about. But the biggest question Naruto feels the need to ask is how he created such powerful androids. How did he create these abilities in the first place? Amado then lights the fuse to the bombshell we're looking forward to. He mentions that he did not create these abilities for them, he merely transplanted them. This leaves Naruto and Shikamaru stunned. Amado explains to them that he is a mere man, a man of science. He isn't a god, and therefore the abilities they possess are not something that can be made by a man. He only transplanted what already existed. Shikamaru asks him to explain, and Amado states that their abilities were created by a real god and that Amado merely transplanted them. An Otsutsuki named Shibai. Shibai Otsutsuki, the Otsutsuki God. Apparently this entire conversation is happening over intercom because a lot of the characters are revealed to be reacting to and listening in on the conversation. They all do that collective recoil that is common in anime and manga, and as if reading our minds, the characters immediately jump to questioning who Shibai Otsutsuki is. Amado begins to explain. First off, he states Shibai is dead. All that's left is his body. Amado explains how the Otsutsuki work. The Otsutsuki are a group of extra-dimensional entities whose sole purpose is to become perfect. To do that, they go to various different planets where they plant a god tree which will become a Ten-Tails after an Otsutsuki sacrifice. Once it's done that, it would begin to absorb all of the natural energy into itself from the flora and fauna of the planet. After sufficient time has passed, the planet would be completely sucked dry and killed off by this parasitic tree. It would then form a chakra fruit, which is the culmination of all of the natural energy of the planet, or Shinjutsu chakra as we would better know it, and stores within itself the genetic data of everything devoured on the planet by the Ten-Tails, which is an explanation of how a normal human such as Obito, Madara, and possibly a future Code could become Otsutsuki through absorbing the Ten-Tails or from eating the chakra fruit. This is how the Otsutsuki evolve into what they hope to be, the perfect creature. Through use of this karmic resurrection, through use of the karma seals, like those in Boruto, Kawaki, and the late Jigen, the Otsutsuki will revive to claim the chakra fruit and evolve into a stronger and greater being than they once had been. Amado states that after countless thousands of years, this Otsutsuki named Shibai obtained what one would call godhood, becoming the legendary Otsutsuki God that we've been hearing about for so long. Before we can go too much deeper on the Otsutsuki God, Naruto derails the train of thought to get back to what Amado was originally talking about. Eida and Daemon. Amado mentions that he transplanted some of Shibai Otsutsuki's DNA to them, to transplant these abilities. Katasuke, who's also in the room, begins to speculate on that. He mentions that it is possible, but completely beyond anything that their science was capable of. Still, Katasuke begins to question this due to the existence of the many creations of Kara, such as Kawaki's body, as well as the airship crash site. Amado begins to show disdain towards Shikamaru, who is questioning everything Amado's saying, only choosing to believe what's verifiable. A good practice, which Shikamaru states is technically his job. Amado explains that Shibai had particularly strong techniques that go beyond just ninjutsu and senjutsu. He states that Shibai never needed to use hand signs. He states that his powers were so great that he could create storms by waving his hand or command bolts of lightning with a roar. He states that these techniques were a new, or perhaps old, class of jutsu called Shinjutsu, or as it would be translated, divine techniques. He said that these were not any type of jutsu yet known to them, and were tantamount to miracles in their usage. He states that Eida's abilities to charm and remotely view things are Shinjutsu. He further states that Daemon's abilities, as well as the claw marks used by Code, and even the karma seals themselves, are counted as Shinjutsu. He mentions Sukuna Hikona as well as Daikokuten are Shinjutsu that Kawaki inherited from Ishiki. He further states that ninjutsu itself is an attempt to recreate Shinjutsu, and that by comparison they are pale imitations. Sarada seems to have some contempt for that statement, but before it can be further expounded upon, Big Brain Shikadir begins to ask the big questions. If Shibai possessed karma seals, then how is he dead, and who killed him? Amado states that this is something that he does not know. Shibai should have been able to survive, yet he is dead. Perhaps someone stronger killed him. Amado then states a hypothesis that if the Otsutsuki are beings who desire to become perfect, would that not mean that Shibai could have chosen to cast off his body to become an extra-dimensional entity that requires no form and therefore no resurrection? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Or at least Amado does, and Shikamaru has no reason to disagree. Naruto's having a hard time keeping up with it, as does Boruto. Amado continues saying that the meaning of the Otsutsuki techniques are, at their base, hope. He said that the hope he found in these techniques was a simple one, a hope of bringing his daughter back to life. As they're talking, Delta shows up to the observation team's outpost begging to see Eida. Sarada refuses, but Delta doesn't want to leave and begs for Shikamaru not to find out. She says she'll only look for a few minutes, but Sarada says she can't because she is susceptible the most to Eida's influence. It's then that the good old class rep shows up and uses the command phrase to shut Delta down. Now, trust me, this is important to the plot. Amado would begin to explain. His daughter, Akebi, was sick with an incurable sickness. She was 24 years old. The doctors had given up on her, but Amado hadn't. He had already dabbled in this field of science, and so his best idea of how to fix his daughter's ruined body was to replace it. He cloned her. Sadly, she died during the process, but Amado managed to take her brain and take all of her memories and plant them into the clone. When he was finished, he activated the new android, but much like Dr. Tenma from Astro Boy, he realized that his child was gone the moment the android opened its eyes. It had her body and genes and even her memories, but somehow it was still a completely different person. He rebuilt her, over and over and over again, but the same result. He realized that he was dabbing in the realm of a god, and could not do this by himself. That is when the self-proclaimed god Ishiki Otsutsuki recruited him to Kara, promising that if he saw Ishiki's plans through to the end, he could resurrect his daughter. Eventually though, Amado states that he learned that his plan would destroy the world, so he had to let Akebi go to stop Ishiki and save the planet. Shikamaru states that it was an unbelievably tough decision, but Amado explains further the purpose of returning the karma to Kawaki. He states that within the karma seal Kawaki has, Amado has planted Akemi's data to plant into a clone body that Amado will create. Doing so will revive her, or so he says. Boruto states that he thought Amado was planting something a lot worse. Shikamaru, then, further echoing our desires, demands that Eida use her Senrigan to prove if Amado even had a daughter. This heavily offends Amado, but Shikamaru states that it's just his job. Even Eida thinks it's heartless, but she seems to enjoy it. Going into the past of view, she comes to realize that Amado was indeed telling the truth, at least about having a daughter. But if you plan to take Amado's word for it, don't, because Momoshiki immediately invades Boruto's thoughts and tells him to react if he can hear him. Boruto can, and both Momoshiki and Boruto complain now that they have to listen to each other talk all the time, but Momoshiki says that it isn't intentional and prays that it doesn't last long. He also tells Boruto to avoid letting Kawaki know because he would like to not have to face him again. Boruto mirrors the sentiment. However, for the short time Momoshiki is connected to Boruto, he begins to explain what he thinks about Amado. First off, he says that pretty much everything about Shibai that Amado said was true. However, the part about Eida's abilities isn't true. While the Senrigan is indeed a Shinjutsu, the charming thing is not. Momoshiki states to have an intimate knowledge of all Shinjutsu, and the ability to bring someone under your control through charming is not one of them. Boruto asks what it means, and Momoshiki states that this means that Amado is lying. But about what and why? That's another question nagging him. It's then that Boruto begins to question Momoshiki's intentions, and Momoshiki pretty much doesn't care. Suddenly, Boruto has a vision through a Byakugan he suddenly develops. In this vision, he sees the new Team Inoshikacho, and even Sarada chasing after Mitsuki, who had apparently done something no friend would ever do. Well, maybe I misread it. Maybe they're talking about Kawaki, who also appears at the end of the vision. Mitsuki states that they have managed to truly anger him. That's where the chapter ends. Now, we get a lot to talk about from this chapter, but the number one thing presenting itself is that massive elephant in the room of the Otsutsuki God's identity, Shibai Otsutsuki. Of course, we learned about the origins of Delta, and I feel really bad saying this, but we're really here for Shibai. This is tantamount to Beerus acknowledging Yamashi and telling us who he was. So, what do we know about Shibai from all we've seen so far? Apparently, he is the model for all the Otsutsuki want to become, as he is essentially the perfect evolution of the Otsutsuki. This is true enough because Momoshiki even knows who he is. He has eradicated countless worlds over the course of thousands of years, and suddenly he disappears, apparently ascending to a new dimension where the need of a physical form isn't required. He possesses a Rinnegan, or perhaps a Rinne Sharingan, they're basically the same thing anyway. He possessed the ability Sukuna Hikono, which is evident through his left eye, which appears to possess the same pattern as Ishiki's Dojutsu. He possesses a Byakugan as well, and apparently had the ability to peer into the past and present anywhere through the Senrigan. This guy possessed all the Gans, bro. Beyond that, he possessed plenty of Shinjutsu, and the revelation of this, while we knew it existed, never had a way to classify or explain it. We go back to realize that the Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan and its eternal variant, Rinnegan, Byakugan, all of the eyes inherited from the Otsutsuki. The ability used by Kimimara's clan, also known as the Kaguya clan, all of that. It's Shinjutsu. The Six Paths ability of the Rinnegan are obviously so. The ability to bring the dead back to life. That is an ability that is so obviously Shinjutsu. And the fact that they can ascend to a new dimension entirely, that sort of rings with the video I made explaining the Otsutsuki clan. Oh look, there it is. In that I stated that the Otsutsuki were likely based on the Diva, and now I know I was right. The reasoning is that Shibai was stated to have developed so much that he ascended to a new form in a new world, one where he has no physical body. This is almost exactly like the Divas of Rupadhatu. To let you know more about it, here's what Wikipedia says. The Rupadhatu, or Form Realm, is, as the name implies, the first of the physical realms. Its inhabitants all have a location and bodies of a sort, though those bodies are composed of a subtle substance which is of itself invisible to the inhabitants of the Kamadhatu. According to the Janavasabha Sutta, when a Brahma, a being from the Brahma world of the Rupadhatu, wishes to visit a diva of the Traya-Strimsa heaven in the Kamadhatu, he has to assume a grosser form in order to be visible to them. There are 16 to 22 Rupadhatu in Buddhism texts, the most common saying is 18. The beings of the form realm are not subject to the extremes of pleasure and pain, or governed by desires for things pleasing to the senses, as the beings of the Kamadhatu are. The bodies of form realm beings do not have sexual distinctions. Like the beings in the Arupyadhatu, the dwellers in the Rupadhatu have minds corresponding to the Dhyanas. In their case, it is the 4 lower Dhyanas, or Rupadhyanas. However, although the beings of the Rupadhatu can be divided into 4 broad grades corresponding to these 4 Dhyanas, each of them is subdivided into further grades, 3 for each of the 4 Dhyanas, and 5 for the Suddhavasa Divas, for a total of 17 grades. The Theravada tradition counts 1 less grade in the highest dhyana for a total of 16. Physically, the Rupadhatu consists of a series of planes stacked on top of each other, each one in a series of steps half the size of the previous one as one descends. In part, this reflects the fact that the divas are also thought of as physically larger on the higher planes. The higher planes are also broader in extent than the ones lower down, as discussed in the section on Sahasra cosmology. The height of these planes is expressed in yojanas, a measurement of very uncertain length, but sometimes taken to be about 4,000 times the height of a man. and so approximately 4.54 miles or 7.31 kilometers. I hope I didn't lose you. If you're confused though, what I just read to you before is what Shibai has supposedly become, a being that's cast off its mortal coil to become something that requires no form, nothing but an enlightened mind residing in a different plane. But here's the thing about that, I don't think it's true. I don't think Shibai truly transcended into this new realm. I mean, I don't know what Kishimoto is planning with this, so this is mere speculation. But one thing I do know is that according to Buddhism, the diva who come to this realm do so through enlightenment and meditation as well as good karma, or at least I think so. I'm no expert. So how would gaining more genetic information and chakra do that? Well, theoretically, becoming one with everything and learning from all of the genetic data could help you. But honestly, as I read the chapter, I thought it seemed strange to him just to be dead. Yeah, I mean, Yamashi did the same, but something about this isn't right. The Otsutsuki just dies? After all the hype and references, and the fact that they bothered to give him a name and tell us something about him, something just doesn't ring right. Even Yamashi didn't get a name until after the fact. Toriyama named him on a whim in the middle of an interview. So what are they doing to Shibai? I suspect he isn't gone. So if he really is an Otsutsuki who might still be alive, then where is he? I think we already know him. Who is the one person with access to his body and genes? Who even knows how to transplant them? Who is the person who named Shinjutsu? That's right. I think he is either Amado or that Amado is being used by him. We're told Amado's daughter died and that he's trying to bring her back to life with the info that he put into Kawaki's karma seal. But that isn't how it's supposed to work. It is possible that Amado is the Otsutsuki god and is merely in a vessel that hasn't yet transformed. I mean, am I the only one comparing their facial hair and jawlines? This guy knows way more than he should, and it's clear he's lying and hiding something. Even Momoshiki knows it. So either Amado is the new Otsutsuki god, or he has just implanted him into Kawaki, which would explain the time skip we see, and why Kawaki is attacking Konoha. But I suppose that is also just speculation. We also got to see more of Delta, which was cool. So we know she was templated after another person, but the thunder of that reveal was really stolen by Shibai Otsutsuki's identity reveal, and I guess the same is true here. I can't wait to see more about it. Only one more month until we get to see more about it. And that's not it either. December 20th is when the new Dragon Ball arc begins, so keep your Sharingan out for videos on that too. If you like this video, be sure to show us by clicking that thumbs up. Leave a comment to tell us what you thought about the most recent chapter as well. This one is such a world builder that it shifts the way we see Naruto forever. We'll never be able to see the series the same way again. Forever, techniques like the Rinnegan will be known as Shinjutsu. In fact, Six Paths techniques, such as what Naruto can use in his Six Paths Sage Mode, will also be classified as Shinjutsu. Fascinating. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell to be notified when a new video drops. Peace out.